Well, thank you. That was a lot of fun. I think it's a lot to digest, but that's a good thing because it's a lot to digest because we're changing people's lives. And I think all of you, I'd like to sort of end with a 1-minute distillation. What's the one thing that through the SGO, through ASCO, what's the one point that you'd like to emphasize? I hate to put anyone on who would like to go first, and while the rest of you organize your thoughts. Who wants to go first? Go ahead, Ramez, no, go to Brian.
I'm just going to say that if we've seen anything in this last year, it's that clinical trials transform patients' lives and that we can make a dramatic difference. So every day in our practices, front of mind should be opportunities for care, clinical trials, and pushing the science forward. And that can only be done through our collective efforts, through our organizations like SGO and ASCO and NRG and GOG partners, of course. So for me, that's the take-home message. It's what fuels me every day. And I hope we can continue with this momentum.
Thank you. Go ahead, Bob, and then Brian.
I'm going to add to Ramez's comment. With the rising incidence and mortality in endometrial cancer, a lot of that related to the increase related to Black patients. I think really making sure that we have access to clinical trials for all these patients. Looking, we're doing on our end, pushing sponsors to really provide for, some of the needs in terms of the social determinants of health. But I urge everyone to look at their own patients and make sure that you are including all these patients, because we want to make sure these drugs, especially these like HER2 ADCs and, these CCNE targeting agents, we want to make sure our Black patients and our other diverse patients are represented and that these drugs work in those patients. So please help us in those efforts.
Go ahead, Brian.
I don't want to repeat, but I'll echo what was said by Bob and Ramez. And as you know, I'm more of a uterine cancer. It's my, I lead the help advise the uterine cancer portfolio. We're making such great changes in uterine cancer research. We know that the number of deaths from uterine cancer are soon going to outnumber the deaths of ovarian cancer, which is a point that we really have to highlight. Fortunately, I was part of the effort that we made June Uterine Cancer Awareness Month, which we never had. So we need to be more aware of it. And I think, the highlight is we know immunotherapy is available, is indicated for all women with endometrial cancer, number one. And secondly, we are a group that's passionate about our clinical trials. And I know everyone here it pushes that. But the other point that was brought up, and someone joked around about, well, the trial's been out 1 week. We really not only need to do the trials, understand and analyze the results, but once we do that, educate ourselves, our partners, our colleagues on the results of those trials, because we're in an era of practice-changing research. And even if you don't enroll in the trials, you need to change your standards of care, change your care for your patients, because it won't matter if we don't, it doesn't matter if we don't put it into our practice and really do things differently based on these results.
And Katie, give us the data. Is Mirasol the grand person? Can't say daddy, mama, daddy? The granddaddy, the greatest of all time, the GOAT?
The GOAT.
The GOAT, there you go. The GOAT of ASCO and the SGO. Is Mirasol the GOAT?
I think it's, personally to me, yes. I think it's one of many things at ASCO that were just ground-shakingly changing for solid tumors in terms of individualized, patient-centered advancements, be it new agents that are biomarker-directed or de-escalation. I'm going to just say I love Mirasol 100%. For me, probably the most compelling thing presented at ASCO was the rectal cancer study by Deb Schrag out of the NCI, which 90% of patients with that carefully selected group, it's like SHAPE, they don't get radiation anymore.
Yeah.
We destroy people with pelvic radiation, and now 90% of patients with that selection rectal cancer, they don't need it. I want to do that to Bhavana's presentation on the neoadjuvant immunotherapy. There was another study that was neoadjuvant immune chemotherapy, and you've advocated for this, and I'm on board. In that study, 75% of patients who were otherwise going to get radiation did not get radiation. Total, just frame shift for patients. So I think doing these, really just taking a step back and trying to do things that are really paradigm shifting, we're starting to see that, and it's pretty exciting. And we learn from rectal cancer and from breast cancer. You know, we're at the table, we're learning and applying it where appropriate to our patients. So it was an exciting year to
And
be
let
in
me tell you why
oncology.
Mirasol to me was important, because it shows we can do it.
Oh yeah.
PROC was undefeated for almost a decade. My CV is very long, full of negative trials. And you didn't give up.
Nope.
And you add confidence to us who are doing these trials. So it was very inspiring. I think it was necessary just sort of to break through. And I hope, Dave, with your leadership and others, that we'll continue to sort of break through. And you know, there was 8 years between 2006 and 2014, 8 years of a drought where we didn't have a single positive FDA-enabling trial. And I lived through that drought. And now I've lived through the PROC drought. So it's really fun. Go ahead, Dave.
Well, you know, we not only should we enroll in clinical trials, the altruism associated, I've really started to educate my patients about the altruism. You know, I hope this trial helps you. But I now have the conversation, but you may help generations of
Right.
women after you. And with regards to molecular testing, targeted therapies, personalized precision medicine like Mirasol, which really is precision medicine, right? 35% high folate receptor alpha. We need to continue to identify rare subgroups which are going to benefit the most. Hopefully, we have a broad indication. So testing widely upon advanced disease or recurrence for next generation sequencing, a series of immunohistochemistries that will expand daily, MAGE-4, HLA subtyping. There are so many opportunities to identify this information early on so that we know in the future there are options for treatment. We have to do it early on, not wait. You know, I love the consult, hospice or phase 1. No. These treatment options, once somebody is platinum resistant, the options are limited. They're getting better, but we need to get those patients into trials which could benefit them, some of them with narrow windows of biomarker testing.
And I want to thank Dr. Copeland for your kind introductory words. And I want to introduce the new era. So in a month, Dr. Herzog will take over as the president of the GOG. And congratulations, we're honored that you raised your hand. It takes work to fill this responsibility, to shoulder the burden, and I appreciate it. So I'm going to give you the last word, and then I'm going to thank our sponsors and turn it over to you, Angeles.
Wow. I concur. No, what I was going to say was exactly what you already said, Brad, and that I was sitting here thinking about how blessed and lucky we are to be in this frenetic clinical trial era, where we're seeing all this activity in disease sites that were really never really thought of. They were ignored: cervix, uterine. We've always had, you know, a fair amount of research in clinical trial activity in ovarian, but that's exploded. You know, as I said, we've got 7 trials that are about to read out that are going to inform us on combinations. And so there's a lot of education to do. There's a lot of putting this data into context for clinical practice. It's a challenge, but it's a great challenge to have. It's so much better because we're making progress, and yet we still have a long way to go. So I feel very lucky to be living in this era and to be surrounded by such a great team and people that put people on trials and care enough to sit here on a Saturday afternoon when you could be doing a lot of things that would sound better, but probably are certainly not as important as this. So thank you.
Thank you. So thank you to our panelists and each of our commercial supporters for independent medical educational support associated with this symposium. Thank you to AstraZeneca, GSK, Seagen, Genmab, Immunogen, Genelux, Corcept, Acrivon, and R-Pharm. Again, this was an independent CME opportunity, and take us home, Angeles.
Yeah, sounds excellent. So just to summarize, I've heard words transformational, revolutionize standard of care, clinical trials and how important they are, and just totally in-depth gratitude for all of you and for everything that you do. This concludes our spring 2023 GOG Highlight Reel. We are thrilled to offer this education and look forward to doing this program 2 times per calendar year. Our next one will take place on December 2nd, 2023 in Miami, Florida. More information about this program can be found at www.gog.org in early July. Please remember to complete your online evaluation. We really want to hear what you have to say so we can be better. And it will be sent to you via email following the conclusion of the session. In order to claim CME credit through GOG, you must complete the evaluation, and the certificates will be sent via email within 5 weeks. Your feedback will help the success of our program and develop content for future events. And this particular session is worth 3 hours. If you want to watch the symposia again, it'll be available on the GOG website at www.gog.org and on the GOG YouTube channel. And you can find out more about the GOG Foundation on our social media. 2, please follow us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And thank you and enjoy your afternoon.
And thank you to Jenna Cummins.
Yeah.